Yeah, before starting this talk, I'd like to notice that if you already saw this like title Exploring Mobile Solution Architecture, where I was a speaker, don't expect updated version. You'll hear probably the same here, maybe with some kind of deviation from what we had. And also, what is solution architecture? Because this term can describe a lot of different things, and we're not going to talk about all these quality attributes, like how to conduct quality attributes workshop on mobile like projects, or how to prepare a solution architecture document for mobile stuff. We'll not talk about diagrams like the same which we saw in previous talk. I mean clean architecture and all these layers. And we're not going to talk about backend and backend for front end and other patterns which are popular across mobile, but we will review different approaches on like how can we make mobile applications, because when you're working as a solution architect on the project or on some pre-sale, the first thing you should do is to decide which technology works better in this specific case. And yeah, this is something that you should do first. And of course, after collecting all the stuff I talked previously. And today we're going to review different options. Okay, feel free to ask your questions, and guys, feel free to interrupt me, like in case we have some questions in the chat. Couple of words about myself. My name is Artem. I'm Chief Software Engineer at EPAM, and my main specialization is Android and Kotlin. I'm still hands-on. I have solution architecture background also, and sometimes working as a solution architect on the projects. And I participate in mobile pre-sales, and it means that I know the market, know what's going on here. And I have experience with different mobile technologies. I started a long time ago as Unity developer. It is also somehow related to mobile. And then had experience with Cordova, and then switched to Android, and also played with Flutter and other technologies. So first of all, we have like cross-platform and native applications. And I'd like to elaborate a little bit on the dictionary, because what is native? Native means that we're building Android application using Kotlin programming language or Java. If you're like old school guy, yeah. And in case of iOS, you're using Swift or Objective-C, the same stuff. Yeah, and cross-platform, it can be separated into two different like ways: cross-platform native and cross-platform hybrid. By the way, we can have some voting, like Flutter. You heard a lot of stuff about Flutter just like a minute ago. What do you think? Flutter is cross-platform native or cross-platform hybrid?
Okay, we need to make a voting. So please raise up your hand if you think it's a cross-platform native. Okay. One vote. Alexander, what was the second option? Sorry, Artem, what was the second option?
Yeah, it's cross-platform hybrid.
Okay, cross-platform hybrid.
Also one.
Also one. No. Much three. We have three hands.
Okay, actually, let me tell you the difference. Cross-platform native means that in the end, you are getting something like a native application, not based on some web technology or some other stuff. For example, in case of ReactNative, you are like getting application based on native components. And we can treat it as cross-platform native. And same stuff with Flutter, because Flutter is also compiled to the native code. Flutter renders a little bit different, but it shows almost native performance. And hybrid stuff is usually based on web stack and web views or some like browser emulation, something like this. Okay, and here on the screen you see the question whether the best cross-platform framework. But again, before answering it, let's like discuss why do we need cross-platform? Why just don't write native applications? Because like Java, Swift, and all this stuff is great. And first of all, we have like a lot of budget and options. What's going on in the office, guys? Something interesting.
Yeah, it's artificial intelligence. It's just vision of the lighting when you're not moving for long.
Okay. Yeah, and in case of cross-platform, you can build the same application faster and in most cases for different platforms, having shareable code base. It means that you will most probably have less mistakes because you have only one code base and one set of developers working on it, and like one code base to test and so on. And in some cases where speed of development is very important, cross-platform works also great. For example, some startups and projects which cannot with small budgeting and so on, because native development is more expensive because you have two different pools of developers. They're writing two different applications. You should test two different applications and so on. And for me personally, the best cross-platform framework is actually no framework, because we have progressive web applications. And it means that if you already have web application and you don't have some specific requirements and limitations, because progressive web applications have some limitations. You cannot use push notifications, for example, on iOS, only Safari supported, and you're limited on the browser because you have only capabilities and APIs provided by the browser. And there are also memory limitations. As I remember, only 15 megabytes of storage is available. So yeah, if you just went through the list of these limitations and you see that you already have some web app and you can easily create progressive web application based on it and have a lot of like benefits. And on the next slide, we see that there are a lot of different companies, huge companies, well known on the market, like Starbucks, for example, who and these companies are different from different spheres, but what is common, they increased their revenue and or daily active users, which means actually revenue, just by creating progressive web applications. I think they spend like not so much money because they're just transforming their existing application somehow. But what happened? For example, Starbucks, they doubled their daily active users just because their users started to use their mobile application. They're opening their phone, they see this app, they're like reminding about Starbucks, and it works this way. In most cases, mobile applications can like give you business like new some new force and gain more users and more revenue. And yeah, Pinterest visitors spending now 40% more time. They also increased their revenue and their business grows. And the same stuff with Twitter. And this slide actually shows us why do we need mobile applications, not only websites. Just because mobile application works really great for businesses. And I will have a lot of like slides like this with some small books or recommendations. This is just 14-pager 14-pager document from Ionic team. They created it about progressive web application. I totally recommend it. It's a great like small handbook which can be like read during the evening. And yeah, go to the Ionic site and use it.
So is still Ionic alive? Because I heard about it about 10 years ago, and they provided some cross-platform mobile framework written in Java.
Sure. Yeah, sure. And this framework is here on the screen. You see Cordova. It is crossed.
It was Cordova, and it was new.
PhoneGap. Probably PhoneGap, Cordova, and
yes.
anything based on Cordova. Yeah, and I also used to be a Cordova developer a long time ago, at the beginning of my career, and I remember these times with tears on my eyes, not from like good memories, but from bad experience. And bad user experience, actually, because Cordova, those times, we had very slow devices. Probably you remember that 10 years ago, mobile devices didn't have such powerful chips. And when you're trying to run something web-based on mobile, especially on some cheap mobile Android smartphone, I wasn't satisfied by the results, and also company. I was working in other company, not EPAM, but we switched to native approach this year after trying Cordova.
Sometimes it was even impossible to publish your Cordova or PhoneGap application in the App Store because you break the design rules, and you cannot fix it using this web technology. This was a time.
Yeah, there were a lot of different limitations. Like we used a lot of different tricks trying to like make this work faster, just because it was horrible. But no, but nowadays we have really fast devices, and I'll be honest, like probably just devices and new chips will make these technologies alive. And now Capacitor is a new library also from Ionic team. It is like technology which is replacing Cordova, is now more and more popular. And I know that at EPAM we also have Capacitor practice, and some of our customers are also using this technology. I cannot disclose, unfortunately, but what I found on the internet, that Burger King, Tim Horton, and Popeyes are using it. All these companies are from fast food. And Sworkit, it is fitness app, good stuff. And only these 4 examples are available on their Capacitor website. What's behind this technology? Actually, it is a web view. And inside the web view, you're running your like application, your web application. It means that now you have capabilities not only provided by the browser, but also by the native side. Let's imagine that we created native application in Kotlin or Swift, then created some web view inside this native application, and created some bridge between the web view and web world and native world. And that's how it works. Actually, Capacitor uses these bridges to transmit data between web view and web layer and native layer. That's why you can have access to like all native capabilities of the device, all memory. You can use databases and so on. Of course, you can write your custom plugins. So if you don't have something which is required, you can create your own bridge, and you can run your own native code on native side of the application, but have at the same time having web-based UI. And sometimes it's a good solution. But let's review what we also have. Oh, forgot to mention also Ionic team provided their 16-page document about Capacitor. Let's stop here just to let you scan this QR code. I also recommend you.
We will put in the chat.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you. And also they have hybrid versus native.
Sorry. Not so fast.
Yeah. Not so fast, yeah. But also 24 pages. I think that it is the best way of understanding all the differences between native, hybrid, cross-platform, all the stuff, just reading such small but very well-built documents. Okay, React Native. We've been already talking about React Native today, and as you can see on the screen, React Native uses like something like web, but with custom tags. React Native is not React, and as Alexander already told, it is only 60 or 70% compatible with the React. And here you see why, because React Native uses custom tags like view, header text, and so on. And these custom text are under the hood transformed into the native Android or iOS components. I mean UI components. And like also React Native uses like JavaScript, TypeScript, and React. So if you are a React developer with React background, probably it's the best like framework for you to play because it provides a lot of capabilities. And even in one of the questions, someone asks that there are a lot of different libraries available provided by the community. And yeah, it is true. React Native has huge community and a lot of different like plugins, options, and so on. And that's why it's one of holy grails of cross-platform technologies. But React Native supports only iOS and Android, but comparing to Flutter, which also can run on Windows, macOS, Linux, and other devices like smartwatches, for example. Yeah, let's go next. Here are some examples of React Native applications available on the market. Yeah, I forgot to mention that for now we have like 50-50 between React Native and Flutter in the company. And also we have something like 50-50 between cross-platform and native. But cross-platform, as I see, is now more and more popular. That's why we are even recommending our native developers to have like this T-shape, have second cross-platform skills, like something like if you're Android developer, try to learn Flutter, like or iOS developer, and so on. And actually, it's great because nowadays in iOS and Android, such technologies as Jetpack Compose and Swift UI are very popular, and they are very similar to what we have in Flutter, I mean, from perspective of declarative UI. Okay, next we have native script. Probably a lot of you could never hear about it because we have React Native, but native script. And as you can see here on the screen, we have not only React Native and React, we have also Angular, we have Vue.js. And if you are Angular developer, for example, for you, it will be also a great option. We have less project with native script in the company, and in most cases, we are limited by the developers because like army and fan base of this technology is not so huge as in case of React Native, and also like requests from the market, like only limited amount of customers are interested in native script. But in case if you're Angular developer and you just want to try mobile All right, and maybe you have some idea. It is ideal case for you if you don't want to like play with React, but want to go with Angular or Vue. Okay, I was able to find only these examples on the market. These companies are using native script. As you can see, they're pretty well known, and also I found that like this technology is still popular and popularity is growing, but like React Native is like something somewhere in the space right now, like in comparison. Okay, Dart, and after Dart we have Flutter. I don't think that we even should stop here because we had like this huge like talk about Flutter for enterprise, how Flutter works, and so on. Yeah, if React Native and native script are just compiling and using native views, Flutter uses rendering engines like Skia and this new engine mentioned by Sasha. And it's actually great because Flutter compiled into the native code. Flutter runs really fast. It doesn't use ahead of time. For example, React Native uses just-in-time compilation, just-in-time invocation of JavaScript, while Flutter is using like ahead of time compilation. And also Flutter draws everything on the canvas actually, and it makes it using native methods, and it's also really fast. And in some cases, Flutter can even work faster than native application. But Flutter also has some like drawbacks. For example, you cannot create fully native UI in Flutter because you're building application together for iOS, for Android, and like anyway, you will have some like differences between what you could have natively. But at the same time, Flutter supports huge amount of platforms like TVs, like desktops, and I know that Sasha was working on one of the projects where they supported something like 9 platforms with TV. And of course, Flutter is very popular technology. I would say it's like has the same popularity as React Native right now, and huge companies utilizing it. So and interest to this technology is still growing, and we have more and more requests from the customers with Flutter, and we propose.
I very often use eBay, and it feels pretty native. So great platform.
Okay, let's move next to Xamarin. Actually, Microsoft tries to like also to bring new life to this technology. They made something like rebranding and called it MAUI, but just for understanding, I will call it Xamarin still. This technology also has a lot of different options. We can write desktop applications, we can write mobile application, watches, and so on. We are limited to use C# programming language and .NET and Windows and so on, like Microsoft stack. And I would say that this technology is now is less popular, much less popular, and we are trying to propose it only in case if customer is really interested in this technology, or if customer says something like, oh, we have Azure Cloud, we have a ton of .NET developers here, all our backend is like on .NET and so on. And in this case, probably Xamarin will work great because they already have some developers, they will feel safer, but yeah, anyway, it provides pretty the same functionality as other cross-platform frameworks. And of course, Xamarin is used by Microsoft. It's not a big news. Also, I just wanted to add something like interesting to this topic. That's why Unity is placed here. And as a Unity developer, a long time ago, I can say that if you want to implement something like a regular application with UI, with buttons and so on, then Unity is not the best option. That's why, yeah, I tried it. When you're drawing, when you're using this canvas with these rect transforms, all this stuff, it's never working like you wish. So that's why Unity is great for 3D, or even 2D games, or some experiences inside your application, maybe some complex animations or playing some scenes. And Unity can be embedded into some other application, for example, into native application. And we can do the same with Flutter. For example, I had a project where we had embedded Flutter game inside the native Android like project. And I know that different combinations are possible. For example, I know that a lot of popular applications for relaxation, for example, drawing, using Unity for main game experience, but at the same time, they are using ReactNative, for example, for everything else, for all screens, menus, and all like around it. So Unity is something specific when you need like something 3D, 2D, and playable. And of course, we have wide range of different options like native.
Still alive.
Still alive.
Who's still alive? Sorry?
Qt. Yes.
Yeah, Qt. I wouldn't say that it's still alive here, but I just saw some YouTube videos about Qt and how to implement UI on Android and Qt, and I know that there are a couple of companies who are still using it, but I wouldn't say that it's a good option because it's too complicated. I used to create Qt applications on Android. It was pretty the same time with Capacitor. The same company, the same experiments. We've been experimenting a lot. But also, you can see V8, for example, here. V8 is Chromium engine. And why is it here? Just because I was working on the project where we had all business logic running inside, written in JavaScript and running inside the V8 on Android. And yeah, actually, it demonstrates that we can implement anything crazy you have in your head and run it on the mobile. I know cases when where guys been running Go language on Android or iOS, and
How
of
is
course,
it possible? Is it through WebAssembly or how?
probably they compiled it, yeah, and
WebAssembly and then run under the WebView.
yeah, probably something like this, or maybe they compiled it to the native, to something native, like shared library or something like this.
Interesting.
Yeah, by the way, regarding WebAssembly, you can see that maybe a few weeks ago, Kotlin announced that now Kotlin WebAssembly is experimental. It means that Kotlin will support WebAssembly as a platform. And I saw this video, and they are announced that even Node.js will be supported. So it is a great evolution of Kotlin language. I'm still tracking, and there are such things as Kotlin multi-platform. Talking about it because Kotlin is running on a lot of different platforms, and it is compatible with Java, as you know, and can be run on running on JVM. We know Kotlin native project. We know that Kotlin multi-platform allows us to have a common shareable code base between iOS and Android application. And now JetBrains are trying to implement Compose iOS, which means that like in the future we'll be able to write one application in Kotlin using Compose for UI, Jetpack Compose for Android, and Compose for iOS, and Kotlin multi-platform for shareable code base, and have full Android and iOS application written in Kotlin in the future. But nowadays, sometimes it's beneficial to have even shareable code between two platforms, because you can save some money having some business logic, core business logic written in Kotlin and shared. Yeah, and also, yeah, there are a lot of stuff in the market. Actually, you can use like Flutter Flow. This strange logo on the right. It is a low-code platform which allows you to create some prototype really fast. And there are a lot of low-code platforms available in the market. And yeah, there are a lot of different options. And we should think on how we can utilize it on the project. We should analyze all project requirements, all necessary functional and non-functional requirements, and then decide on which way to go. So that's all from my side. Thank you. And do we have some questions in the chat?
Thank you very much, Artem, for your comprehensive talk and overview of possible solutions. We have a very good question from Yuri in the chat. Let me read it for you. Can we be sure that development of iOS and Android by Apple and Google would always be driven by market competition to make cross-platform frameworks well behind pure native implementations of from the point of view of hardware features supported? Or there are some frameworks which provide to expose new features of hardware devices in a few days after release of native libraries, which sounds like a very reasonable question. Thank you very much, Yuri, for asking it.
Thank you for the question, but I think it is not possible because of one reason. You can still write your own plugins and your own bridges. You know, if you don't have something available in Flutter, but have something available on native layer, you just go into the native layer, writing this code, and like just having making the call to this native bridge, and that's it. And you are using it. Yeah, there are a lot of limitations of such platforms, like Flutter, ReactNative, and so on. For example, in case if you are forced to use some native library. For example, your customer wants to integrate with some, I don't know, hardware device which uses SDK written like in Kotlin or Java, and it should be used from native side by the design. And in this case, the only option you have, just go to the native layer, integrate with this SDK, and to like provide some abstract like API to your like calling code. Yeah.
Good. Thank you very much for the great answer. Because there are no more questions in the chat, I have a question from my own. So, you know, Apple recently announced their fantastic spatial computing helmets. So in case if I want to write an application like a big Microsoft Excel for spatial computing, what should I use?
Oh, it's actually interesting and discussable topic, because
I know the answer.
Okay, keep your answer. But spatial computing is something on another level. And we had a discussion with Denis Zidinov, our iOS competency head, around this, and he said that we should change our like mindset on how this spatial stuff should work. Because when you as a person putting on these glasses, you are in some virtual reality, and all your applications should work without blockers, without some, I don't know, we should use some other mechanisms of multi-threading, for example, just to avoid such situation when something is waiting, because user will see it, because something is happening, is lagging, like in his world, his or her world, yeah. And yeah, I don't know which technology should we use, because we don't even have like preview or kit to play. I didn't see like what did they provide in their Xcode, so I cannot like tell that. I don't even sure that Flutter will be supported. Of course, it will be supported in like the same way as other applications from the Play stores. But if we're talking about something unique, created for the platform, probably it will be created using the platform tools, specific platform tools.
Thank you very much for the good answer. Thank you. I suppose it is a, let's say, as Apple announced a game changer, it seems it's going to be game changer, but we will see impact of it in, let's say, in a couple of years, because at least this helmet will not be available till the end of this year, or in the early next year, and next a new application will appear, and we will see. Will it definitely change something or not, or it will be another, let's say, another toy like I don't know, a helmet from Sony,
from Facebook?
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, actually, for now, I don't understand how I can use this helmet with my family, for example, watching the movie. Like, should I spend $20,000 for just buying set of helmets just to watch one movie? It is interesting, but I see use cases for this technology, especially in some educational or science areas.
I have seen in this presentation that the woman uses browsers, so I think that the most popular application will be browser, and we still will be in the web technology. So.
Yes, and they have seen Microsoft Excel on the left-hand side on the presentation, so you can imagine how big table can you create.
And you should not to scroll. You should walk manually.
Exactly,
until the end of the columns.
And very many columns in Jira. Yes. So let's get back to the topic. So thank you very much, Artem, for your comprehensive overview of mobile solutions and mobile technologies we can use to start a new project. We really hope to see you on our next events. Thank you very much for your talk.